The theory I'm coming out with you today could revolutionize the way we theory craft about this entire franchise. Or not, and I'm wrong. But I feel good about this one. Up until this point in the franchise, we've been theory crafting under a massive assumption that we haven't put under any scrutiny, that every haunted animatronic is seeing the same world we are. But is that true? What if what the animatronics see is completely different to reality? And how does that change the plot as we know it? So, right away, I'm going to have to address the supposed evidence we have that we know what the animatronics can see. Specifically, the in-between night cutscenes of FNAF 2 and FNAF 3. But I don't think either of these can be fully trusted. For the FNAF 2 cutscenes, I don't think these animatronics are haunted at this point. If we're thinking about the exact cutscene we see, it's simply Freddy slowly scanning the dining room, and after a few nights, the puppet staying in our vision, until finally we have no more cutscenes. I think most likely, this is just a retelling of Give Gifts, Give Life. We see what Freddy monitored up until the moment the puppet placed the soul into that animatronic, and once Freddy is haunted, we no longer get to see what he sees. Well, what about the FNAF 3 cutscenes? Actually, I think it helps my theory, so let's dissect that, shall we? In these cutscenes, we see each of the FNAF 1 animatronics one by one following some sort of shadow Freddy until being cut off by William Afton and disassembled. There's one more cutscene at the end, but we'll get there when we get there. The important thing to note here is that it's pretty well agreed upon that we're not seeing the full picture. Somehow, William Afton is tricking these animatronics with this shadow Freddy to be led into a place they're not supposed to be. That way, in the moment their programming is confused, he can jump out to disassemble them. But how is he able to do this? We're going to throw out illusion discs because we don't have any hard concrete proof they exist in the games. And it makes even less sense when contrasted with the fact that at the last cutscene, this one that we haven't mentioned yet, the souls see just Afton as he is, die how he does. They see the world as we see the world. So why is it that when they're in an animatronic, they see Shadow Freddy, but when they're just their spirit, they see Willy? I'm here to stake my claim that while Remnant is possessing an animatronic, the perspective of the Remnant and the perspective of the animatronic clash, forming a whole new perspective entirely. They don't exactly see the world around them as it is. Their perspective becomes tainted. They see whatever their body and soul combined can see. When the Remnant is inside of the animatronics, it sees William Afton, but the animatronic body itself sees the creator of Fazbear's. The perceptions conflict, resulting in Shadow Freddy, a dark, mysterious figure that the spirits see, but Fredbear, the beginning to all of this, what the animatronics see. Combined, you get this thing. Something that looks familiar and welcoming, but at the same time, off, scary, wrong. The soul inside the animatronic is screaming that you can't trust this man, but the body follows its creator until the spirit and the body are separated, and then the spirit can see Afton for who he truly is. This is the main idea of the theory. What if the haunted animatronics of this series aren't seeing what we see? What would that change throughout the franchise? Well, it would honestly explain a lot, so let's look at each game where this would be relevant. So we're not talking about FNAF 4, because that's just kind of nightmares, so it doesn't really matter. We're not talking about FNAF Special Delivery, as I'm pretty sure those animatronics are infected by the glitch trap virus, not actually haunted, because that'd be a lot of souls. We're not talking about FNAF Help Wanted, because that's just an in-universe video game. The only ghost in there is Glitchtrap, and his status as ghost is debatable depending on your philosophy of what makes a ghost. And we're not talking about Security Breach, because none of the animatronics in Security Breach are haunted. So let's take it from the top with FNAF 1. Up until now, the prevailing theory in the community was that the FNAF 1 animatronics go after the player because Michael Afton looks like his father. Either that, or they just see an adult male and assume that, well, adult male, probably William. But the only reason we believe that is because it's the explanation that makes the most sense. I mean, he's William's son, but he is also an adult man, so it makes sense that he would look like his dad at least a little bit to these animatronic eyes. And most likely, Michael does resemble his father to an extent, but if the animatronics aren't clearly seeing reality, then we don't have to assume that Michael is the spitting image of anyone. After all, the FNAF 1 bots also acts the phone guy. No shot does this random dude also happen to look exactly like William Afton. Is it not more likely that a perception conflict is occurring? These animatronics are just sophisticated enough to be able to recognize adult man. But the last adult male these spirits saw was William Afton. So when they see adult male, they think William Afton and just go on the offensive. Therefore, any adult male would trigger that response, as it did with Phone Guy. We're just lucky Michael got out in time. You cannot say hi and go away. FNAF 2 is actually an odd case because we're talking about two different sets of animatronics. Yet the explanation is pretty much the same. As far as the withered animatronics go, the explanation is identical. These are just the same bots from FNAF 1 just a few years prior. So when they see Jeremy, most likely the conflict is between adult male and Afton, and leads them to attack. The toy animatronics, however, are specifically programmed to scan for adults, in particular wanted criminals, but still. This leads me to believe that their AI is much more advanced than the older models, so this conflict may be even more heightened. The built-in AI scans and sees adult male, ringing alarm bells. And then the souls remember the last adult they saw, William Afton, which rings alarm bells. This could explain why not only are the toys so aggressive in game, but it could help to prove that one of the toys, most likely Mangle, are the culprits of the bite of 87. Well, it's at least more evidence than, I don't know, it swings down. FNAF 3 gets a little more complicated, but it gives me the perfect excuse to delve into the other aspect of this theory that we haven't talked about yet, how agony affects everything. If living in a physical object as Remnant can distort your perspective of the outside world, what would agony do to that perspective? As I mentioned in my last video, I believe that William Afton is at least part agony, especially when considering how he died. I would feel agony too. I went back and forth a while with some of the other theory crafters on the Discord trying to figure out exactly how this would affect him. You know, the official Rytos Discord where we not only theory craft about FNAF, but also talk about other nerdy things in general, and we even have a community Minecraft server that's open to anybody who wants to be there, and it's also full of memes and other just feel-good stuff, so it would be really cool if you joined by clicking the card. That Discord server. But we settled on the idea that being in this Remnant animatronic brings you to a slightly lucid state where you kind of are dreaming while you walk. So agony would turn that dream into a nightmare. That being said, if you're prone to hallucinating terrible things, what do you think spending an extended period of time in here would do? Especially when just in the other room, you can hear children playing but never see any other living person. It's like taking psychedelics and then walking into a haunted house. It's a recipe for disaster. No wonder Springtrap gets lost in essentially a hallway. Sister location on the surface seems odd, but if you break it down, it bolsters my theory even more. Circus Baby recognizes you right away as someone new. Elizabeth sees this new person, but the Circus Baby body is preventing her from recognizing the player as her own brother. The Biddy Babs question themselves,
is it the same person?
But until they form Ennard, the other animatronics don't quite see as normal. Ballora is movement sensitive and Funtime Foxy is light sensitive. But these animatronics attack any person they can, including random workers. This time, however, it's because the perspectives are not in conflict, but are occurring sequentially. The Remnant here is melted together and then forms into these different animatronics. So the Remnant is cloudy, it's not strong enough to have vivid memory, it's just kind of there. The animatronics, though? These bodies are held in cages and shocked harshly on a daily basis, so the aggression here mostly comes from that torture. However, once the animatronics scoop themselves and form Ennard, suddenly they're a massive Remnant with minimal animatronic obstruction. Wouldn't you know it, Ennard is much more purposeful in their actions. They lead Michael to the scooper, they scoop him specifically to escape, and if Michael starts disobeying, they go after him and try to capture or kill him. And finally, we reach Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. Most of the animatronics that arrive here are in disrepair, acting mostly on impulse. I mean, they fall for a trap of a fake restaurant that if security breach is anything to be leaned on, it's essentially just stone and metal tunnels with like a laugh track playing. So if they fell for that, they're not clear of mind. Not only that, but the bait here is child laughter. Regular animatronics would have no want to seek out children laughter with violence, they would want to tell jokes and things. However, heaps of agony and Remnant would seek out any life at any cost. They're seeing their own world at this point. They see a restaurant because their Remnant and agony tell them so, but their animatronic body is confused and lost. Most interestingly of this entire theory, though, is the new perspective it gives us on Ultimate Custom Night. What if Cassidy, or at least, bear with me, the one you should not have killed, isn't involved at all? If Remnant can alter the reality that a haunted animatronic sees, and agony can distort it for the negative, what would happen if you took an animatronic and melted it down to just pure agony? What would it see? Could Ultimate Custom Night be a visualization of what William Afton sees until he's scanned into Help Wanted, just tormented by the nightmares of his own actions? The one you should not have killed maybe didn't even make this hell. His own guilt did. The one you should not have killed could even be the crying child. We know the crying child isn't literally someone who could create this, but if he's so guilty that his own son died to his own robotics, that could haunt him as the one he shouldn't have killed. And while technically the voice line says, he built us, the one you should not have killed. Maybe William built them in reverence and guilt for him. This theory could change everything on how we interpret the games and what the animatronics are seeing, especially moving forward if we get more haunted animatronics. I actually really like this theory, and I think I'm right here. It explains nearly every game. Like, comment if you disagree with me, but I feel dead on. Now, it doesn't fix every game. I mean, the games still have their problems. Security Breach has tons of it, which I go into here, but I think it's still gonna help. Shout out to the best patron, Emberisk, and until next time, as always, stay toasty.